will begin with the types of contracts you can have, because there is not such thing as one contract. There are different possibilities. So there is a first difference between contract van bepaalde duur, contract van onbepaalde duur. So, how do you say it in English? Limited in time and unlimited in time. I hope it's clear for everyone. So if you want to do a contract limited in time, it has to be signed before the person starts working for you. Because if the person starts working and you said, yeah, we will sign your contract afterwards when we have more time, normally that's not possible. When you start to work without a contract, it's automatically for indefinite time. So if you want to do, okay, we will do a contract for 3 months, you have to sign the contract before the person starts to work. There is also a problem if you want to do successive contracts limited in time. Because if you do a contract for 3 months and then you say, oh, the person is good, it's working great, I want to keep the person in my company, normally you have to then propose a contract indefinite time. You cannot do such thing as multiple contracts limited in time. There are two exceptions. There are two exceptions at it. If there is a break between two contracts, like if I work for you 3 months, then you let me at home for a week and then I come back again for a contract for 3 months, that's okay, because there is a break between two contracts. The other exception is you can have 4 contracts limited in time over 2 years. That's the ultimate limit. Afterwards, if you want to keep the person, then it's a contract unlimited in time. There is also a difference because working full-time and not working full-time. Normally, the basis, if you start working without signing a contract, you're unlimited in time engaged, and it is a full-time contract. But we all know, I think you all have in your company people that do not work full-time. They work 19 hours, 24 hours, it can depend. But that you have to stipulate in your contract. So you have to put it, okay, this person is engaged for 24 hours a week. And you also have to stipulate if it's a fixed working schedule, or if it's variable, flexible. Okay. Because in the not full-time contracts, you have different variations. You can, for example, stipulate, okay, the person will work for me every day from 8 till 12. But that's more in the office sector, you know. And people working in an office, it's easy to say you only work in the evening, or only in the afternoon, or only in the morning. But you, in your sector, it's a bit flexible. It's depending on how much clients you have, maybe in your shop. So it can variate a lot. So most of the time you will have variabele arbeidsregeling. It will float. You cannot say in advance when you have to work. You can say, okay, today it's in the morning, but tomorrow it's in the afternoon, and in the weekend you work Saturday, Sunday, but then you don't have to come work Monday, Tuesday, for example. So that's more your thing, I think, in the work schedule. But that also you have to stipulate in the contract. So you have to put, for example, 19 hours a week, and then you say it's a variable work schedule. Then the question the person is gonna have is, okay, you engaged me for 19 hours, and okay, it's gonna be flexible because you don't know how I'm gonna work. But the question the person will have is, how do I know when I have to come to work? Because that's also important. And that's, you have to put in the arbeidsreglement. Okay, arbeidsreglement. So where all the principles of your company are inside of it, you have to put all the work schedules in your arbeidsreglement. So you have to put if it's a variable schedule, you have to put, okay, my openings hours of my shop are between 8 and 22 hours, and so people are possibly working between this time frame. But you have to put your frame in your arbeidsreglement, so that the people can know, okay, that's the hours where I'm supposed to maybe work one day. And they cannot put me to work at 3 in the morning because that's not in your frame. So you put your frame in your arbeidsreglement, and then 5 days in advance, you have to communicate the work schedule to the person. So you have to put, like for example, if I work in your company, you have to inform me today which schedule I'm going to work next week. So you have to say, okay, Pauline, Monday you will work from 8 till 13, and then Tuesday you're going to work from 14 till 17, and so on. So you have to inform me 5 days in advance, so I can program my life, you know, because I'm working, but I do other stuff too. So you have to inform me when I'm supposed to go working. And the communication, in the past, it was really fixed, so it has to be official and a document and such things. But now, you know, with all the social media and stuff, it's more flexible in that way, because you can inform me of my work schedule by WhatsApp, by Messenger, by all the social media stuff we know today. It is legal to communicate my work schedule on that way, but it has to be stipulated in your arbeidsreglement. So in your arbeidsreglement, you put your frame where I'm supposed to be working, and then it has to say all the workers are going to be informed of their work schedule by Messenger 5 days in advance, for example. And then 5 days in advance, you send me a messenger, Pauline, we are waiting for you Monday this time, Tuesday this time, and so on. So that's perfectly legal. In the past, it was not thinkable to do such a thing, but now it's certainly possible. Now, you will maybe communicate a work schedule to me, like, Pauline, you have to work from 8 till 13, but at 13, you say, there are so many clients, it's not possible for you to go home now, you have to finish with the clients in the shop, for example, could you stay 1 hour or 2 hours more? I think in the practical, it's such a things you know every day. It is possible, it's not illegal to do such a things, but you have to put the hours I worked extra, because I worked 2 hours more in your shop. You have to put it in a document, in a controle document, because if the inspection comes and they will see, Pauline, 13 o'clock and you're still here, you're not supposed to be here because your work schedule didn't predict you were going to be here. It has to be in this controle document, because the inspection has to know which people are worked at what time and what day. So it's not illegal to work more hours or less hours than communicate in my schedule, but you have to put it in this controle document. And this controle document looks like this. Maybe you already know such a document, or it's brand new for you. But you have to put my name, the date, which hours I was supposed to work, and what I did in the reality. So maybe here, originally I was supposed to work from 8 to 12, but in fact I worked from 8 till 14. Maybe I worked 2 hours more because my colleague was sick and there was nobody to do stuff in the shop, and so my boss asked me to stay 2 hours more. No problem, but it has to be here in this controle document. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Nou, hoe zeg je aanwezigheidsregister? Maybe in your shops you have the people who work there register their time.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the case in some of your your shops or companies, because it's not an obligation in Belgium. When you come work, it's not an obligation to register your time, but some companies ask you to do it. Before you start working, you put the hour you started, or you have a machine that registers itself. If you have such a machine, you don't have to have this controle document, because the machine registers your time, so we know exactly when the person came and when the person leaves. So if you have such aanwezigheidsregister, and most of the time it's with an electronic time registration, then you don't have to have the other paper controle document. So it can replace this document. Yeah, so that's what I just said, and that's only two years ago, so it's really recent. Okay, that was for the different contract types, full-time, not full-time. Most in your shops are maybe not working full-time, so you have to be alert if they work more hours or less hours. You have to put it in the controle document. Otherwise, if you have an electronic time registration, you don't need this apart document.
I have one question for the same type. If we make a fixed EU roster, like as for a student, only Saturday, and if I need this student on Friday, then how can I?
But normally for the student, I think you made a contract for one day, or how does it work?
Fixed, or like as Saturday from 5 to 9.
Yes.
And if I need this person Friday also, then how can I?
For a student, it's a bit different, because it's an apart status, because you know they are not working people, they are students.
Not student, other contract also. Maybe I make a day part-time contract, maybe 12 hours per week, and maybe like as Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But I need this person on Thursday.
And it's a student or not?
No, it's not a student.
If it's not a student, you can put it in your controle document, and then it's okay.
Same like this one.
Yes. So it's with all the hours that the people are working and they were not supposed to work.
And only this is legal, is complete, or I need to put it on the detailed calendar also?
No, this is
okay,
the model document. You find it on the website of the Federale Overheidsdienst. So it's the official document. So if you fill this in, it's okay.
Okay.
You don't have to put more details, or you can if you want, but it's not an obligation.
I've been now with STOs. I asked them and they told me I have to put it on the detailed calendar also.
And which calendar it is?
Detailed calendar means in digital. We have a login. We go there and we put on his name, and we put like a first day from this time to this time.
Maybe they need this information in their own calendar, because then it's maybe more easy for them to do the salaries of the person. I think it's more like a practical question. But here the legal obligation is to put it in this controle document, and that's it.
Okay.
Then it's okay. But I think practical, you have to give the information to your sociale secretariat, because they have to know when did the person work, because that will depend his salary at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So I think it's more that information that they need.
Okay, thank you.
So what is the difference between the Mona we feel online and the paper that's here?
Yeah, the Mona is just to declare a person to the social security.
Yeah, but like if you have an extra, you can always fill on the same day and then start the work.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a contract.
Yeah, no, but here it's for the person who are fixed in your company and that work full-time or not full-time.
Okay. Say, like he said, if someone works on Saturday, and if he wants him to work on Friday, you can still fill the Mona and make him work on Friday, right?
Yes,
Okay,
but normally you have to put this controle document.
But
not if it's an extra, a flexi, or a student. These are the special category. Here it's for the normal people, if I can call it, with a normal contract, fixed or not, undetermined in time or limited in time, and the people who work not full time.
So does that mean like if he works on Saturday and then that's his fixed contract, right? So if he wants to work on Friday, then we have to have this labor and not pay the money.
You have to fill the dimona because he has to be covered by the social security. Imagine it happens something with him on this day, he has to be covered. But also you have to have this controle document.
So you have to have
Yes, but it's the same registration you do because you put the hours the person works, but it has not the same function. One is for social security and here it's for the inspection to the work schedule. Does the person not work too much? That's the aim after this.
But it does work ready for extra flexi, like
Yes, and this is what we are gonna talk now because these are the special people.
So just about the hours, like you said, you can have a flexible hours, right?
Yeah.
What is the minimum hours that we need to roster in a day? Like 3 hours,
Yeah.
4 hours?
Yeah, so on a day it's normally minimum 3 hours, but if you work in the horeca, in the PC 302, then it's minimum 2 hours.
Okay. So like say a person works from 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock at the night, but he works 2 hours in the morning and have a break in between, and can he still work 2 hours like that? Or
So he can work from 10 till 12 and then come back at 4, for example, and then work in the evening, yes.
so that's fine.
But you cannot let him come for only 1 hour. Yeah, minimum 2, yeah. And on a day, normally it's maximum 9. Unless you have, but there are also exceptions. And on a weekly basis, it's minimum 13 hours. But if you work in the horeca, it's 10. And maximum on a week, it's 14. Unless you have exception, which are existed in the horeca. Okay, so you already talked about the students and the flexi, so we're gonna look at these people. So we're gonna start with the students. I can imagine you work with a lot of students. They are still the cheapest, if we can put it that way. If you have to choose between flexi, extra, a regular worker or a student, the cheapest will always be the student. For him and for you. So the student, it's a normal contract, but you have more conditions. The condition is, of course, a student contract is that the person is a student. The question is, what is a student? Because people do study now all their career. So can everyone have a student contract? No. The main time that he spends has to be to study, because a lot of people are studying maybe a few hours in the week and then the rest of the time they are working. The question you have to ask yourself is, where do he spend most of the time, working or studying? If the answer is studying, then he's considered as a student and you can put him in a student contract. If otherwise he only studies like 8 hours a week, for example, and then he works for you 20 hours in the week, then he will not be considered as a student because he puts more time in working than studying. So that will be the criterion. Now, if you have a doubt, if you said, I don't really know because he studies a lot of hours in this week, but in the other weeks then he doesn't have to go to university and I don't know if is he a student or not, the best you can do is call to the Federale Overheidsdienst, and then you say, okay, I have a person, he studies this in this school, is he a student or not? Can I engage him as a student? That's the best thing you can do because, you know, school is so many in diversity, there are so many possibilities now, so it's a bit difficult to know, okay, is he a student or not? So the best you can do is ask the question to the Federale Overheidsdienst. There is no maximum age. That's also important. Some people think, oh, this person is 27, so I cannot put him in a student contract. That's a lie. There is no maximum age. If someone studies still at 32, 35, I don't know. If his main time he spends studying, then he is considered as a student. There is, on the other hand, a minimum age because you have to be at least 15 most of the time it's 16 that the people can come work for you. So if someone knocks at your door at the age of 12, do not take him as the student. The student contract is always limited in time. So normally you make a contract for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Sometimes it's for a year. If you have someone who always comes working for you at Saturday, for example, it's possible to have a year contract. Student contracts are always written. So you always have to sign a student contract before the student starts working for you. If the student starts working for you and you say, come on, fast, quick in the shop because we have a lot of work, and you said, yeah, you will sign your contract after the big rush in the shop, normally this student is not considered as student contract, and he will be considered in a full-time contract, unlimited in time. It's always the same section. If you don't want a contract unlimited in time, full-time, then you have to have a written contract before the person starts working. And that's something a lot of employers forget. They said, yeah, student, come, hup, vlug werken, fast working, and afterwards we will do all the papers. Yeah, if the student doesn't say anything, it's all okay. But if he's a bit smart, he will say, I have a contract unlimited in time, full time, and he will ask a lot of you. So be prudent with this. You have to send the student contract within 7 days to the toezicht op sociale wetten. That's an inspection in Belgium. Normally you do it at the same time you do the dimona. You already talked about this. So you have to do immediately a dimona for the student, but I suppose you know this. And also good to know is that the 3 first working days are considered as proefperiode. That means that the 3 first days the students work with you, you can say, okay, it's not gonna work out, you can send home and you don't have to pay een opzeggingsvergoeding, you don't have to pay any indemnity. And the student also within the 3 first days, he can say, it's not my thing, I'm not gonna work out, so I'm leaving, and he doesn't owe you anything. So that's only possible within the 3 first days. So a student can work 475 hours a year, so that's a quota he has for 1 calendar year, and every year he has a new 475 hours he can use. If he works more than 475 hours, you know, maybe the student can check how much hours he has left on student at work, you know, with his electronic ID, he can connect to student at work and he can check, oh, I already worked 30 hours, so I have 445 hours left. And he can give you an attestation that says, okay, you know, I still have hours left. The danger you have if you don't ask such an attestation to a student is he says, yeah, I still have hours left. And afterwards, oh no, he already worked in another shop in the beginning of the year and his 475 hours are already gone. And so what is the sanction? It's not that it's illegal or something like that. It's just that he will be considered as a normal worker and you have to pay all the normal stuff that you normally not do for a student. So just be careful because it might be not such a nice surprise. Then, also a big question for students, big question more for the parents because they receive money normally because they have a child at home. And so if they work as a student, the parents still get the money from the government because they have a child. That's not a problem, but the student can only earn 12,657 euros a year. If he earns more than this, then it may get a problem because the parents risk to reimburse the government about this. So just be careful that you respect this and that you respect this. Because otherwise you may have angry parents at your shop that says you let my child work too much in your shop and now I lose all my money from the government. Okay, why are students so interesting? Because for the social security, for a normal worker, the worker pays 13% and the employer pays a bit more for the social security. But here for the students, the percentages are really low. 2% for the worker and 5% for the employer. So that's why it's still interesting to engage a student over a normal worker. And then I already said that the 3 first days of the contract, either one of them can leave without paying any indemnity. Well, here, if you do it after a month or before a month, you have to respect a certain opzeggingstermijn. So that means that the person still has to work a few days before leaving. Within the 3 first days, one can leave just like that. Without paying anything, without coming to work anytime. But afterwards, you have to respect a certain delay. So the person still has to work 3 days, 7 days before leaving. But that's also the case for a normal worker. But there, the opzeggingstermijnen are much longer. It's more weeks, more months maybe. So that's a bit different. So students, that was for the students still the cheapest. If you have to choose between one of them, choose always the students, but respect the 475 hours a year and that he doesn't earn too much. So, the flexi job. At the start, flexi job were only possible in the horeca, in the 202, but now they are extended in other sectors too, in the 201. Zelfstandige kleinhandel. I don't know what to say. So the 201.
Slagers.
Yeah. They can also use the flexi jobs now. In the past it was only horeca, but now it's in other sectors also possible to engage a flexi job. A flexi job, what does it mean? It's a person that already works at least 4/5, at least at 80%. In a company, by an employer, and next to it, he will do a flexi job in your company. So, for example, I have a full-time job at EasyPay in the legal, and I say, I'm going to do a flexi job, and I'm going to work in your shop every Saturday, for example, because in the weekend I'm free, and I just bought a house, and so I have to have more money to put in the bank and stuff. So I'm going to do a flexi job next to my full-time job. The condition is that you have to work at least 4 to 5. So you have at least to work 80% of your time. Someone who works only part-time, only 19 hours a week, he will not have the possibility to do a flexi job because he doesn't work enough. Also interesting, maybe, I don't know if people are working in your companies like this, people who already pensioned. People who are already 65 or more, they now also have the possibility to do a flexi job. So they can come to you, work to you, I don't know, every Sunday, every Monday, I don't know at what time. But these people also have the chance to do a flexi job. In the past it was not possible, but now they do. If you have someone like this who knocks at your door and who says, I want to do a flexi job, the best he can do is contact the pensioentoren, so the services that are in charge of pensions, and ask if he has the authorization to work as a flexi job. Because there are some conditions, he has to work enough in the past and such things. And the only instance that can answer this question is the pensioenfonds. So if you have someone who is in pension and he is interesting, just say, okay, but first call the instance, and that they can attest, okay, you have the authorization, you have all the conditions too, and so there will not be a problem. But so that's really interesting for these people because the pensions, you heard maybe in the media, they are not very high. People are not very happy. So it's a bit a nice complement to their pensions if they can have a flexi job after it. So for the flexi job, you have 2 contracts. The first you have to do is a frame contract, Overeenkomst. And in this contract, you have to put the identity of the parties, the way you're going to inform this person when he's going to work, a description of his function. Is he going to be a cashier? Is he going to be something else? I don't know. His salary, and then a fixed text that is mentioned in the law. That are the 5 elements that are in your frame contract. But in the frame contract, you still don't mention when I'm going to work, at what time, and so on and so on. Here it's just a frame contract. And then after it, you do the effective flexi-overeenkomst. And this contract is limited in time. Because it's a flexi, he only comes at determined time. The salary is 10 euros an hour. And in this 10 euros, you have the salary and you have the vacation money. You know, in Belgium, we also have vacation money to finance our vacations. And in the flexi loan, in the salary of a flexi job, you already have that vacation money. So it's not something he has afterwards or something like that. It's in the salary itself. For the social security, the employer pays 25%. It's higher than the students because on the other slides we only saw 5%. Here it's 25%. But it's more interesting than a normal worker. Because for a normal worker, it's nog meer hoog. What's interesting for the person in flexi job is that the salary is free of taxation. So you don't pay any taxes. So for my full-time job at EasyPay, you know, the taxes are taking half of it. But if I do a flexi job in your shop, the taxes won't do anything to it. So the 10 euros only. We pay only social security, but for the rest, the taxation doesn't get any of it. It's get all in my pocket. So that's really interesting for you as an employer and for the person who works at Flexi. You have a registration to do for the Flexi. You have to register the begin and the end of the working period. There is an exception. If you have een geregistreerde kassasysteem, de witte kassa, misschien beter gekend, or a system of daily registration. So if the person put the hours when he comes working directly in the company. So that's for the flexi job. And then we have the extras, and that's still only for the horeca. Maybe in the future they will extend it too, but for now on it's only in the horeca possible. Another name for the extra is gelegenheidswerknemer. For the West Flemish people as me, it's not such a nice word to say because we cannot pronounce it right. So it's only in the horeca, and then you have to work maximum 2 consecutive days. So it's not Monday and Tuesday and Thursday. It has to be 2 days next to each other. So Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, I don't know, but 2 consecutive days. So 2 consecutive days at the same employers. And it has to be occasioneel, so not regularly. It has to be once in a lifetime, if I can say. It's temporary and it's unregularly. It's not I come to work to you every weekend. That's not occasioneel, onregelmatig. And so the question we have a lot is, can I do an extra job in the firm where I already work full-time? If I work full-time in your shop, can I also do an extra to do a bit more hours and have a bit more money and you can pay me directly? There has to be a distinction in function. You know, if I'm a cashier in your shop full-time, I cannot do an extra job to be a cashier also. because that's just in the continuity of my function. But if you say, you know, Pauline, you're a cashier full-time in my shop, but we need someone to clean the shop after it, that's not my basic function in your shop. So I can do an extra job in your shop and to come clean 2 consecutive days in your shop, for example. That's possible. But the functions must be distinguished. And so, the minimum working is minimum 2 hours, maximum 9 hours a day. If you have a flexible arbeidsregeling, but that's a bit too far maybe to explain, you can do 11 hours a day. So that's a bit the same hours you can do in the horeca. And so, how is the social security and the taxation? The taxation is 33% of the salary you pay as taxation. And for the social security, it's a forfait you pay. So it's a fixed amount you pay, €8 an hour and for 50 hours a day, depending how you do the dimona. So that's the cheapest is the students, and then it's a bit to you to choose flexi or extra, but extra you can only engage someone for 2 consecutive days, and most of the employers says, yeah, you know, I don't know in advance when I'm gonna need someone, so it's a bit complicated. So we see that a lot of employers still use the flexi. Students and flexi are the most popular one because they are easy to use. For the flexi, you do a frame contract, and then every time the person comes, you do an apart contract. And then, so for the extra, you also have a register to have, register van werktijdenregeling. It's an obligation, and it's a document the employer has to fill in if he uses an extra as a worker.